No, David, you can't join.
But why not?
Because you're from Indiana.
I can explain.
You monster!
I don't even know you anymore.
Sorry, David, but the jury's out. Leave.
Alright, I see how it is. Well, two can play at this game.
Why the hell are you still here?
Well, it's because you're a fur fanny page.
You son of a bitch.
What is this?
You are a sick man.
You like Sonic Unleashed.
No! Now Björk won't accept me to the great island in the sky. I'm sorry, my queen.
I cosplayed as Hitler once! Shut up!
Don't you know your queen cracked, peeling, riddled with disease. Don't you know you?
Today, we're going to talk about sex.
All children cover your ears or else you'll explode.
OMG, sex!
Oh, god damn it. You caused Half-Boiled Hero to explode, asshole.
It's not just run-of-the-mill marital pastime anymore.
And it never has been. Please look at ancient Greece, ancient India, and ancient China. All societies that have existed before Christianity was even formed and not equate sexual intercourse with having to be bound to marital laws. Also, this never stopped religions like Buddhism, which do not recognize marriage as a spiritual, rather a secular affair.
What the hell is a pedophilic? Is that some kind of kink I would find on Fur Fendi? And are you wearing a Limp Bizkit shirt, dude? You can believe in God all you want, but God believes that no one should ever listen to Limp Bizkit. Ever. You be sinning, boy.
First of all, let's talk about sex. What is sex to you? To me,
Well, he should know because... No, too easy.
it is something a man and a woman share between themselves in the privacy of their own bed, and for the reasons of love for each other and family growth, aka making babies.
Okay, well, I want to focus on the fact that he said that sex is for love. Keep that in mind.
You know, I would make a joke here about how you shouldn't take sex advice from someone who looks like him, but that fruit is too low-hanging even for me. And that's saying something.
Sex is reserved only for the marriage bed. Hebrews 13:4. Let marriage be held in honor among all, and let the marriage bed be undefiled. For fornicators and adulterers God will judge.
Okay, I could argue that sex isn't necessarily exclusive to just married couples, since humans have a freedom of choice by nature and can choose whether they want to have sex before or after they get married. I respect the fact that it's your opinion that you think that it should be with the couple being married, since there is a level of trust and love between said couple. However, like I said, it isn't exclusive to just couples binded by marriage.
But to the rest of the world, sex is its own culture, with different subcultures mingled within, where you don't have to be married to indulge, because everyone is open to getting a good Jolly Roger.
Great. The tone he's already taking on is kind of starting to come off as condescending.
Men, women, children, even the family pet are involved. And if you do get married, please feel free to pass your spouse around, and men can have more than one, because just like Lay's potato chips, you can't have just one.
This would be where I would disagree with you. And keep in mind, this is coming from someone who chooses to wait until marriage before engaging in sexual activity. No, people do not condone sharing their spouses around like hotcakes because it is, as you imply, morally wrong. Hell, if you were to even engage in sexual activity in your high school years, when somewhere around that time it would be considered okay depending on the age of consent, peers will still look at you as either a slut or a pimp partaking in such activity. Society does not say that it is okay to cheat on your spouse. You'll be seen as a slut or, more commonly, a cheater if you were to do so.
You don't even have to be of age or consent in some parts of this sin subculture.
So let's just have a sweeping generalization here that all sex subcultures are guilty of this. While yes, there may be some that are, it's erroneous to assume that all offshoots of what you would consider standard are guilty of this.
But I want to talk about two groups of sexual deviants that are separate but are so much alike it's just plain puke-inducing. the pedophile, and the homosexual.
There are actually major differences between pedophilia and homosexuality. Like, really big ones. Namely, that one of them is not an unnatural, monstrous thing to have.
Pedophilia, as defined by Merriam-Webster, is a sexual perversion in which children are the preferred sexual object. A pedophile is a person who has a sexual interest in children.
Redundant, don't you think?
Sexual perversion, interest, in children. Words that should never be joined together.
Ow! Plus 10 points for writing a script and taking the time to use it, but minus 5 for having to scroll down to get to the next part of the script when you could have scrolled down before saying the lines you wanted to say. Don't bring me down, man. You don't know how badly I need you to not suck as much as the other morons that are lol cows.
But yet somehow, in the world of sexual gratification, these words have become intertwined with each other to become a horrible, untradeable stain on the Catholic Church, Penn State University, and yet another reason to hate men.
Despite the fact that there are cases of women indulging in pedophilic behaviors too.
Being a pedophile 30-some years ago was reason enough to drag the kitty diddler out of the house and beat the snot out of him until he leaves town. Today, where's equality for all? We have support groups for pedophiles because pedophilia is really just a mental disorder and should be treated as such.
And here's where we're gonna have our big problem. See, the groups are for people to help cope with their sexual urges and to make sure they do not enact on them. I don't see why you would have a problem with this. The purpose of these groups is to help make sure that they don't go after children, not to encourage pedophilia.
You forget, though, that it was socially acceptable in times of the Roman Empire when wealthy men married girls as young as 14. Thanks, Latin class! Today, however, I would argue that there are more people who detest pedophilia more than they did back then. And yes, while some could argue that the whole pedophilia thing could have been the cause of a mental disorder, which in some cases could be caused by people who have done such things to the pedophile in question when they were younger, that does not mean that they excuse the offense. Nowhere in a first world country is it acceptable for anyone to engage in sexual activity with a minor in this day and age. P.S. It's not just men who commit pedophilia. Just throwing that out there since there are cases where women have been branded as pedophiles before. And if you don't think that pedophiles aren't condemned greatly anymore, then you really don't do your research. Social attitudes towards it rank even worse than people who commit murder.
A mental disorder. Are we serious, people? Have we finally fallen off the deep end of rationality and just gone plain stupid?
Must resist. Obvious. Religion joke.
As much as you hate it, pedophilia is classified as a psychiatric disorder. I don't see why this is a problem. We just have to classify it as something, and using the religious label of perverse doesn't really work. Just because it's a psychiatric disorder doesn't make it any less wrong. I can safely say here that I, and all of B.O.P, and most society would say that anyone who commits these acts are wrong and should be punished.
It's funny because there has been scientific proof that yes, being a pedo is indeed a mental disorder. Now, as someone who is a Christian, or more accurately, follows an agnostic belief, I hold scientific facts more over than the Bible because of one reason. Many Christians have stated that the Bible is supposed to be taken metaphorically at face value. Because if you honestly do believe that the Bible is 100% fact, then you're pretty much admitting that we all came from incest babies. Hey, I'm just saying that God created one man, one woman. There aren't no plurals in that. Also, say what you're about pedophiliac therapy, or pedophilic therapy by you. Wouldn't that be considered a good thing? Because, you know, there won't be fucking pedophiles, you dingus.
I did some research. In 1866, pedophilia, or pseudo-pedophilia, was introduced in a book by Richard von Krafft-Ebing, and was called a psychosexual perversion. Krafft-Ebing wrote that it was more common in older adults who had lost the sexual desire for adult affection. In 1905, Sigmund Freud said that it was a rare disease that only affected the weak-minded who couldn't find any other way to sexually gratify oneself.
Okay, let's ignore that Freud was a quack for this point and focus on what was said. Freud never said that it was a disease, and yes, this might be nitpicky, but there's a very big difference when it comes to a disease and a disorder.
1908, Swiss neuroanatomist and psychiatrist Auguste Forel.
You know, Jay Joyner, it might actually help you to pronounce the names of words and people right. It's neuroanatomist, and it's Auguste Forel. He's Swiss.
Referred to it as pedorosis, or the sexual appetite for children. Farrell felt that it was ingrained and unchangeable in those who had a strong sexual appetite for children, but agreed with Kraft-Ebing that it could also be present in those with dementia or other organic disorders. The term pedophilia became more widely used by 1918, and by 1952, pedophilia was placed in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders as a disorder under subtype sexual deviation.
Hello? Hello? Damn it! That's another loss of 10 points! And here it is, you were doing someone okay with presenting your research too. A shame, that.
Hello? Did your audio cut off? Or are you practicing your mime lessons? Sir, there is a time and a place to do so. This is neither of those. Go back to being ignorant.
Now, if only I knew what the argument was to go with that passage. Oh well.
But whoever causes one of these little ones to believe in me to stumble, it is better for him that a heavy millstone be hung around his neck, and that he be drowned in the depths of the sea.
So, does that mean that God is okay with murder? Bigger question is God Tim Robbins from Mystic River?
To this day, people still make jokes about Catholic priests being perverted with little boys. Then, of course, along comes good old Sandusky, and his sins were brought to light as we find out that through Penn State College, he was getting carnal with little boys who were coming to him as a mentor. This became such a huge scandal for Penn State that they are still feeling the bruises today. And now, I hear we want to say that all these men are just suffering from a mental disorder and should be treated with kindness and pity.
No, we're saying that people who come to realize that these acts are wrong and want to seek mental help should be shown pity because they know this is wrong and do not wish to act upon it. People who actually commit these acts should deserve punishment for acting on such wrongful acts that they know are wrong, but you are equating two things that aren't the same here. You can't be charged with thoughts like this until you actually act or have the intent to act on them. You can charge a pedophile for sexually assaulting a child or possessing child pornography, but you can't arrest them for simply being a pedophile.
Where exactly did you hear this? If you could at least provide some proof of people who have said such things, then I'd be more inclined to believe you and say that those people need to be promptly shot. And if the proof was in the segment before the passage from Matthew where the audio was cut out, then you failed on that aspect, brah.
Every father, every parent watching this video is feeling my pain right now at this blatant act of stupidity.
Implying that he does have that large of an audience. How very high and mighty of yourself. I'm sure God would have a few choice words on your pride.
This is starting to come off along the lines of saying, as a father, this is just sickening, and if you're a parent, you'll understand this too. It's a lame shot at an appeal to emotion.
I just can't wrap my head around it, folks. How did we go from despising someone who would be so vile to even think about having sex with a child, let alone actually doing it, to coddling and feeling sorry for these monstrosities of the human race?
Implying that the US lets pedophiles get away with a slap on the wrist.
This is a big problem that I have with the guy. He's acting like everyone here is just giving pedophilia a pass, which no one is. We're not saying that it's okay. No one is. In fact, the pedophiles that want to get help are saying themselves that they know it's wrong. That they want help so they don't act on those urges. So what are we supposed to do? Ridicule them? How is that supposed to help? And keep in mind, this is very distinct from people who actually do it and know it's wrong.
Do you know what they do to these type of people in jail? They shank them, okay? They don't even make it very long in general population. Once somebody finds out that you're a kitty diddler, you're dead. Done.
And thus, would this fact go against what you're saying? Plus, keep in mind that there are people who have been convicted on acting on these urges. Let me explain it like this. I can't be arrested for having a thought to steal something. I can be arrested for having an intent to steal or committing theft. Zara can't be arrested for thinking of embezzling, but he can be arrested for having an intent to embezzle or committing embezzlement.
Like the cops could ever catch me.
Scarlett can't be arrested for thinking of killing. She can be arrested for having an intent to kill or committing murder.
It's a living.
David can't be arrested for thinking of weenies, but we'll all make fun of him for it anyways.
Oh, you suck!
You know, you don't have any other way of explaining it. A lot of people hate you for that. But because of sexual inequality, we have to pander to these sick, worthless, vile specimens of humanity like they were a mentally challenged child. and you people call me crazy for believing in a creator God.
Wow, just look at that generalization sweeping across the landscape. I think, for the most part, people don't have a problem with the belief in God, outside of edgy commenters and video makers. Rather, it's trying to apply it to explain science and disregarding what actual science proves. And also, the whole discrimination thing, there's that too, but that's not what we're discussing.
I would agree with you if you had proof of people saying that they felt sorry for pedophiles since they see it as a mental disorder, which is very likely, however, inexcusable.
Speaking of sexual equality brings me to the next sexual perversion I want to discuss: homosexuality.
Oh boy, fundamental Christians' favorite nerd to steal money from and give them a swirly. So please, enlighten us with your by-the-mills beliefs.
Oh, of course, it wouldn't be a bigoted religious video if we didn't bring up homosexuality.
As defined by Merriam-Webster, is the quality of being homosexual, erotic activity with another of the same sex.
Slight nitpick, but this isn't one single definition as pointed out by Merriam-Webster. It's the quality or state of being homosexual and or erotic activity with another of the same sex.
A homosexual is defined as being sexually attracted to the same sex based on or showing attraction to people of the same sex.
Redundant, don't you think?
In the Bible,
Wait.
homosexuality is an abomination. You shall not lie with a male as one lies with a female. It is an abomination.
Yes, the Bible says it is an abomination. The Bible also says that if your child backtalks you, you should kill them. Or that it's okay to own slaves and beat them within an inch of their lives. Or that if there was a town that does not worship God, burn it to the ground and kill everyone, including the livestock.
Oh boy, Leviticus. I hate discussing Leviticus because in this day and age it is so controversial and out of date with the society of today. But to put this as nicely as I can, since I am a Christian myself, the Old Testament is more of a history book than anything else. Yes, it does state in the Old Testament that homosexuality is an abomination, but think about it like this. This was written during a time when man did much worse than just sleeping with someone of the same sex. If you think God doesn't get angry, believe me, the Old Testament is proof that he can be. Though it wasn't for the fact that people were sleeping with others of the same gender. It was more for the fact that they were not worshiping the one true God and committing acts that worshipped their false deities. One of them being homosexuality. However, in this day and age, it's not about the worship of pagan gods when it comes to a gay lifestyle. Some people are born gay, and that doesn't mean that they are shut out right by God automatically. I've met homosexuals that still follow Christ and are kind and generous people whom are devoted to their significant other. Think of it like this. If one was born as a homosexual but still followed Christianity, then it's not impossible for them to be accepted by God.
Now, considering that most pedophiles arrested are males, and to make sure I'm right on this, I did a little search of sex offenders around a 3-mile area in my town, and out of 175, I only looked at the first 50. On page 1, the first 50, there were only 2 females out of all these men, and on the second page it was all men. And that they mostly, and I've also found out that they mostly go after young boys.
It'd be really nice for you to actually provide some statistics or proof to back up this claim, because from what I found for myself, and totally didn't steal it from anyone, says girls are more likely to be victims of molestation according to the National Child Abuse and Neglect Data System.
And after searching, just this past January, I found out that a man was arrested in Thai for procuring about 100 boys over the last 3 years for a 61-year-old man.
Okay, good for you for doing your research, but here's the thing. When talking about these two subjects, it's like comparing apples to asparagus. One is a sexual perversion that strips away a child's innocence, while the other is a sexual preference to one of the same gender. Well, yes, pedophiles can go after children of the same sex. That isn't what makes the crime a crime. It's more on the act of stealing a child's innocence and scarring them for life, and in some cases, making them into sexual deviants as they grow older. To pedophiles, the gender doesn't matter. What matters is that they are young and appealing to their eye. God, I can't believe I said those words! I feel like I'm gonna puke.
Aw, it's okay, hun. Come here.
Which brings me to the conclusion that the majority of pedophiles are homosexuals.
Really? Not nationwide research or international studies?
First off, it's Thailand. Is this name really hard? Second, Zerik's article, which is actually my article because I was the one that found it, before states that a majority of pedophiles are in fact after girls, which would make them heterosexual. But then again, this is a fallacious connection even if it was right. all squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares. You've heard that before? And your only proof for this is one news article about one case and a Wikipedia article that does not in any way ever mention that homosexuality and pedophilia are one and the same. Except for one link that brings you to another Wikipedia article that discusses this very notion and also dismisses it.
Now, why am I bringing this up? Because I want to point something out here, folks. If you're a man who willfully gets off on little boys, you're a homosexual. If you're a woman who gets her rocks off on little girls, you're a homosexual. If you're a man who identifies as a woman and is attracted to men, you're a homosexual. If you are a woman who identifies as a man but is attracted to women, guess what? You're still a homosexual.
It doesn't surprise me that transphobia would also be in this video. And not the Tumblr SJW brand transphobia where everything is offensive. I mean actual transphobia from someone who's apparently still stuck in the dark ages about understanding human sexuality.
If you're a dude who likes pork and male animals, you're a homosexual.
Okay, whoa, hold on. What does bestiality have anything to do with homosexuality? That's such an extreme reach as asinine and also came completely out of nowhere. It's ultra problematic to accuse homosexuality as being the fault for things like pedophilia and bestiality because that's not what the basis of it is, you societal troglodyte.
No, that's bestiality, which is not related to homosexuality at all.
So then why do we have all these different labels for homosexuality?
Because they're not part of homosexuality. They're obviously different. Holy crap.
Actually, you know what? Here's a more important question. Why are you still talking?
I mean, it's like high school and religion all over again. Do we think that calling it by any other name will make it any less taboo? How about y'all just come out of the closet and be done with it already?
And have people ridicule gays for being what they are? See, it's that kind of attitude that not only shy people away from coming out as a homosexual, but turn them away from Christ.
But wait. If we do that, if we allow you all to come out of the closet, then everybody will use the excuse that they were born that way and have every right to have sexual desires towards kids, change our sexuality, and Porky the Pig because it's the way we were born and it goes against our human rights to make us live and think differently.
Oh my god, shut up!
So wait, what does Porky the Pig have to do with pedos and homos? Secondly, no one is using the excuse of, I was born this way, for pedophiles to get away with what they do. No one is saying that we should think otherwise when one comes up with that excuse when they abuse a child in that way. And if they do, like you say that they do, I don't see your evidence in them saying so. Thus, I'm not inclined to believe you.
Okay, but here's the biggest fucking problem with your whole argument. Having sex with a child is against the law and is abusive. Having sex with an animal is against the law and abusive. Do you want to know the biggest reason why? They cannot give consent. Two consenting males or females having sex at the right age is legal because there is consent from both parties. Holy fucking shit.
I don't know why you're throwing the whole born this way thing in the face of homosexuals when it's true. People who are gay are born this way. This is hardwired into their genes. People can't help being gay, just like people can't help being born a certain ethnicity. You're faulting a group of people who cannot help who they are by associating them with perverse acts that this sexuality is in no way responsible of, and you have provided no proof that it is.
Okay, then also, and if we're going with the I was born this way defense, then how come it's okay for people to persecute Christians? We are born to live for God and spread the good news of Jesus.
Did he imply that people are born Christians? Okay, you are born white. You are born with a penis. You are not born as a Christian. You are baptized. And age doesn't matter when it comes to baptism. If we're going by the Bible, Jesus wasn't baptized when he was a kid. He was baptized when he was an adult. I don't think people will call you crazy for believing in God. I think they call you crazy for other reasons. You're crazy. Nope. Fuck this. Fuck this, you guys. Fuck this. I'm done. I quit Michael.
David, no!
Don't worry, you washing machine. We will avenge you!
Seriously, dude, too soon!
What? He's dead? You wouldn't mind at all? He's dead!
You are the Antichrist. And this is coming from someone who uses a serial killer metal suit for an avatar most of the
that
time.
metal suit.
Excuse me, that, sir, is racist against
Oh, hell no!
Maybe
Sir, you have crossed the fuck...
born this way, and this is how we choose to live. So why is it okay for humanity to do it to us, but no one can do it to those who claim they're being persecuted for their choice to be a pedophilic homosexual?
Is your religious belief hardwired into your genes? Is there a genetic code that determines if you'll be born Christian, Muslim, Hindu, Buddhist, Zoroastrianist, atheist, or whatever? No, there isn't. People are not born a religious faith. They are born into a religious faith. You are born into a family that has chosen your beliefs for you and will raise you according to these beliefs. There's no genetic code that will determine your religion. If it did, you wouldn't see such huge section of religious areas such as the Eastern Orthodox Christian Europe or the heavily Islamic Arabian Peninsula. This is such a flagrant misrepresentation of how homosexuality works that it's so laughably pathetic, but at the same time, incredibly insulting. And stop compounding pedophilia with homosexuality. These are two distinct definitions, and the fact that you're putting them together is even more insulting.
I can understand that in some countries it is a problem for someone to spread Christianity due to their culture, but in the case of the US, that's not entirely true. 80%. That's how much Christians make up the population of this country. And out of that 80% comes hundreds upon hundreds of churches that help spread the word of God. With those numbers, how are Christians actually being brought down or ridiculed for spreading the word? If anything, the word is spreading like wildfire. And again, if a pedophile were to say that they were born the way that they were or they were taught it, it doesn't excuse it. Not anywhere on this planet does it excuse the crime.
I'm not saying, though, that it's okay to judge those for how they choose to sin, live their life, bust a nut, cream their jeans, or what have you. I mean, I can understand someone who has a severe brain disorder and their mental state reverting to a point where they don't know any better.
You cannot say you are not judging homosexuality when you literally just compared it to people with brain disorders who don't know better. Holy fuck. The entire subject of this video is comparing homosexuality to pedophilia and somehow accusing this sexuality of not only pedophilia, but bestiality, which was completely out of the blue. This is not something you have research on. This is not something you have provided proof on. This is straight up bias. You're an egregious liar and you're a blatant liar. And remember earlier in the video when you said that sex is for love? Why doesn't it apply here? Right. Because of your fucking bias.
And that's what breaks your argument! The fact that you say it's wrong to judge and yet you judge anyway in your statements. Practice what you preach.
But as for you priests, you educators, you caregivers, you psychiatrists, you equality junkies, can we stop sugarcoating it? Can we stop frosting it like a cake and calling it chocolate when we know it's just a pile of crap? Whoever or however you choose to answer your carnal desires is up to you, but stop making excuses for doing something you know is outright, no questions asked, wrong.
You have provided nothing to even prove that homosexuality is wrong, besides a Bible quote. One fucking Bible quote. The Bible is not a reliable source. You cannot use a religious text to argue facts set forth by science.
And of course, if you want to use this as some kind of unbeatable standard for morals, may I remind you that if a city doesn't practice a religion, kill everyone and burn it to the ground. Deuteronomy 13:12 to 13:15.
Peace, love, God bless you all. Therefore, to one who knows the right thing to do and does not do it, to him it is a sin. James 4:17.
I'm going to compare homosexuals to people with brain disorders, people who commit bestiality and pedophiles, but peace and love, yeah.
Oh yeah, let's just end this video with Limp Bizkit. It's not like this could get better anyway.
I feel so torn with you right now. On the one hand, I can agree with you somewhat on the whole pedophilia argument, saying that no matter what it is, it's wrong and immoral, and that there is no excuse for it. But then you bring up homosexuality, one of the most controversial topics of sex, right up there with religion and politics as a whole. I really want to give you the benefit of the doubt. Really, I do. But I feel that there was more research that was needed to be done for this topic and an open mind to argue these topics. Homosexuality and pedophilia are two completely different spectrums of sexual attraction and engagement. Just because a pedophile happens to be gay does not change the fact that they are still a pedophile. And as far as homosexuality is concerned, It's complicated because there are cases where people were in fact born gay and cannot change the fact, no matter how much they try. This is why I hardly discuss topics like this, because I feel like I'm walking on broken glass when I do. I feel that everyone is able to live their life the way that they want as long as they choose to live wisely and lovingly, whether they are choosing to be gay or they were born that way. In a nutshell, all I can say is this: good for you for at least trying to put effort into this video. Really, it's a breath of fresh air, but again, more research, an open mind, and a little bit of rewarding could go a long way.
I want to at least give my final thoughts about the homosexuality bit and a big problem I have with people who try and combat it. There's no real basis in logic for being so against homosexuality. Any concerns people have brought up, such as AIDS and gay adoption, have been quashed by statistics over and over and over again. Plus, it seems like that this whole video, and indeed a lot of Jay Joyner's videos, are just about how America is going to hell in a handbasket because we're exercising some liberal viewpoints. Well, I just want to point out a few things. Norway, Sweden, Netherlands, Belgium, Denmark, France, Canada, New Zealand, oh, and of course, Iceland. These are some of the countries that allow same-sex marriage and provide full rights to homosexuals. You may be aware that these are not countries that are declining, nor are they horrid places to live. These are countries that are at the top for lowest crime rates, highest education, highest gender equality, highest rates of living, highest literacy, etc., etc., etc. And public acceptance of homosexuality is very high in all these places. I'm not saying that acceptance of homosexuality is the cause for all these things, but as you can see, it's also not damaging these nations. Your condemnation of homosexuality is honestly disgusting with how you try to paint yourself as not judging. And you know, I've never said this before and never meant it, but this might be really the first time ever to spend this video demonizing homosexuality and aligning it with some perverse acts, and then end your video with peace and love. Go fuck yourself.
Well, great. You two took up all the time for me to have final thoughts.
Well, hey now, those be fighting words.
Does I need to bust out the cannon?
I can shake a my fanny, I can shake a my can.
No! Fucking bitch!